All right. Hi, my name is Raphael Sbarge, and I'm here with Megan Denver, who is astoundingly engaged in bees and the bee conversation. Megan is a leader in international beekeeping and sustainable development. She serves as a CEO for Bees for Development and Bees for Development North America. She also has 20 years of experience in beekeeping herself and chairs the Rural Development Commission at Apimondia. I love the fact is that you also have a store, by the way, where you sell equipment to people who want to be beekeepers. Wow, it's really astounding what you're
Yeah,
doing.
definitely had a career in bees for the last 20 years. And I would say the shop is really where we started. I was a beekeeper and I thought, I just like, how can I make it more? Like I see things as like a pie. And I thought, well, I like being in bees, but kind of maybe selling bees, teaching beekeeping. I really love that. And as we started teaching beekeeping, we really noticed this change in people. It isn't just about keeping bees. We say that when we teach someone beekeeping, they become conservationists because when you first learn to keep bees, you're terrified. It's a box of stinging insects. You don't know if they'll kill you. It's all those kind of, what's going to happen?
Right.
And once you get past that, you start thinking about where they're foraging. And honeybees can travel up to 3 miles for forage. So you start thinking about like, what are our neighbors doing? What are they doing in their yards? Are they spraying? Where are my bees? Are they around big ag? So we start thinking about that, and we noticed that people would come in and say, what should I plant for my bees? And I talked to my neighbor and they were spraying their roses and my bees died. And they just start this conversation. And then as we're kind of grew a little bit more and our first customers came along with us, we also found that they came in, they said, what do you know about some of these ag chemical companies like Monsanto and Bayer Crop Science? And we thought, these little tiny change agents have gotten into their investments, and not only taking it to work and giving honey at work, that kind of thing, but I really have been inspired by that. And then as we started to grow, and it was kind of unexpected, we thought, we're just a brick and mortar, just like a little shop in a little town. We thought, who's going to come? And within a few months, we realized it kind of touched people in that kind of homesteading or wanting to be a little bit more independent. And maybe it had skipped a generation. So the grandparents were actually the beekeepers.
Mm.
And so as they came in, we thought this success and this kind of like crazy success we got, we wanted to give back. And we wanted to give back to the bees. And so we had heard Nicola Bradbear years before talk about Bees for Development. And I thought, I think that's the organization for us. And there's a lot of great work being done here in the US. I'm also on the board of Pollinator Partnership, which is the largest nonprofit here in the United States protecting pollinators, doing impeccable work. But I kind of wanted it to be a little bit more global. So so about 9 years ago, my journey with Bees for Development started.
So I did a little research and it's astounding what is going on. I mean, the stories of people talking with nothing, essentially,
Yeah.
with no options, and the bees and the beekeeping and being taught to essentially, manage bees and hives has opened up their entire lives, has fed their families and given them more opportunities. It's astounding, the rural development.
It is. It's amazing. So, that globally, rural development can encompass everything from water to sanitation to all different subjects, right? And agriculture. And so we're just part of that little agricultural part. But bees are amazing, right? So they don't need to be fed. They will live pretty much in anything, right? So what we teach at Bees for Development is how to weave your own hive or use logs from the forest like Brassica palm, which is quite sustainable. And we teach beekeeping in a way that doesn't create donor dependency. So we go to very poor nations and we teach beekeeping in a way that then they are able to take care of their bees and then grow their bee operation and take care of their families. And there's an amazing thing that happens, Raphael, that I think when you ask a beekeeper, when you ask someone that in a beekeeping project that we're just starting, that's going to be a beekeeper, what will you do with this extra money? So much of the time, what they say is we want to send our children to secondary school. So a lot of the countries we work in Africa, that primary school, but that secondary school costs. And there's this innate knowledge that says if I can give to my children to make my children have more success than me, then I've been successful. So that's kind of the beauty of rural development. They don't need to be fed, they don't need to be watered, they don't need to be medicated. and they produce a shelf-stable product. So it's not a berry or a gourd or something that needs to be taken quickly to market. You can store this honey for, as you know, probably you've read in the pyramids, eons old honey that's still edible.
Right,
It's
right.
quite shelf stable if it's processed correctly. So at Bees for Development, we follow that along, and to make sure that there's training in honey harvesting and all of that. And I will just say my role at Apimondia, which is really why I'm here, is in my work with Bees for Development. I ran for the role of chairperson of rural development. And that's even such a fascinating because Apimondia, it's a scientific conference.
We'll explain what Apimundi is first, because
Yeah, so Apimondia is this
international foundation.
incredible foundation of federation of beekeepers globally. So when you go to Apimondia as a beekeeper, you just learn amazing global scientific research being done. You also get to meet people from all over the world that are beekeeping. And then my commission, I consider it kind of the heart of Apimondia because I don't have scientific papers. I'm not talking about the genome sequence. What I'm talking about is the impact as a beekeeper that we can see that our skills can have on poverty alleviation and creating sustainable livelihoods. And that is very special. And we have seen such beautiful work being done around the world. And this year for Apimondia, it's kind of exciting. I haven't had this happen before, but I've gotten lots of abstracts on Apis dorsata, which is a different honeybee. It's the giant honeybee. And if you might have seen some beautiful pictures of bees on cliffs where people are climbing down.
Yes.
Giant honeybee.
Right.
Giant honeybee. It's this huge honeybee, and it just sits on this beautiful comb. And there's a way to sustainably harvest that. And then, so I've got abstracts on that. So I'm going to do something at Apimondia on dorsata. And then Melipona is this teeny tiny stingless bee that produce these teeny tiny pots of honey. Again, a sustainable livelihood can be made from them. So I have a whole set of talks on Melipona apiculture. So I think my little bit of Apimondia is a really special part.
So exciting. I mean, it has sort of kind of concentric circles of good that go with it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Here's a visual. Yeah.
just even on its own, the bee, obviously bees are so important, so integral to everything
Yeah.
we eat and consume, and the agricultural, the economics of it, and the societal implications. But it's all packed in this one little.
Teeny tiny change agents that we say, and that they're accessible, right? They're fuzzy, they're yellow, they're not scary. We're not trying to save the snakes. Thank goodness. I'm not trying to be good at that. Might not be my thing. But I will give you one analogy that's kind of beautiful. We use this at Bees for Development. We call it a virtuous circle. So we have bees, people, and the environment, or biodiversity. And then we know that if we take care of the bees, the biodiversity increases, right, through pollination and wild pollination. And then the pollination having healthy environment is good for the people, and the people take care of the bees. And then if we go the other way, bees will take care of people by giving them honey and beeswax that they can sell and use. And then people will take care of that environment because we become those stewards. And then the environment is actually taking care of the bees. So we think that that's really, biodiversity and bees really go very well together.
That's very exciting, and that's a wonderful sort of simple diagram, doesn't it? Just sort of it's a perfect thing. What the other thing that's sort of interesting, of course, is that so the microcredit and how microcredit initiatives then also then empower these small beekeepers in rural communities. And I guess I wonder what your experience there, because you're dealing obviously in these rural worlds.
Yeah. That's something that we've touched on. Usually that's the kind of like a phase 2 for us. Really, it's about teaching beekeeping and creating that income, and then coming back to either talk about market chain, how the honey is moving out of the country, and then also that financial responsibility and creating those, whether it's like you're talking about microloans or cooperatives, or, there's a lot of that finance part. And we do a bit of that, but more, I think what we're focused on is kind of the earlier stage of that, which is the teaching beekeeping and learning more about what we can do with that.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of the work that you're doing now actively, what countries are you working in, and where are you seeing the biggest results?
Yeah. So we work heavily in Africa. So we're in Uganda, Ghana, Ethiopia, Malawi, and Zimbabwe. We also work a small project in Sierra Leone. We have partners in India in the Nilgiris. And we've just started a project with stingless bees in Peru, in the Amazon rainforest, with the indigenous people that are there who actually are protecting the forests, right, through their heritage. But also, where can we help them create more potential for their livelihoods? So that's a project that we're just kicking off. So Bees for Development's been about 30 plus years. So pretty much you name a country and Bees for Development has worked in it. So that's kind of where we are currently is heavy in Africa, but looking to North America, South America, that kind of work. I mean, I don't mean North America. I mean South America. North America is pretty good.
Understood. Understood. I mean, it's just fantastic in terms of kind of the reach. I know, I mean, so there's this project, Buzz of Transformation, which is this sort of opportunity, I guess, to sort of talk about this rural development
Yeah.
and I guess using filmmaking and media and obviously being able to kind of really reach both people, as it were, singing to the choir and beyond, as it were. Because I mean, obviously, people who are in the bee conversation, they would enjoy it, hopefully. But then also being able to kind of sort of bring people in. I mean, I guess who do you think stands to benefit most by having sort of projects like this that then sort of focus on this?
Yeah, I think that the simplicity of the story, right? That if you just teach someone, it's that teach a man to fish rather than give him fish. And that's what we're talking about. And Buzz of Transformation can enhance that story, which is if we teach people beekeeping that are in really disadvantaged situations, they can then build their way out of that. And I think that when we talk about bees globally and the importance of bees and pollination and full pollination and all of that in a very complicated way, but we can also just talk about that simple transformation of one individual at a time. And I think that I know that you're focusing a little bit on an individual in, I think it's Tanzania. Is that correct?
Tanzania, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
part of the
Beautiful.
Maasai, I guess, tribe.
Yeah, beautiful story there. And there's hundreds of those stories. But I think to be able to relate to one story at a time is really impactful. There's so much news going on. There's so many big problems, huge things. But if you can see that, and as a beekeeper or not a beekeeper, I think then you can be involved. And whether that's locally, globally, giving to an NGO, maybe getting involved, volunteering, but also just taking a step back and realizing that maybe in your yard you've got a bunch of insects you don't like. Well, maybe those insects are really, really important to the planet. And maybe this one insect, by highlighting it, gets to really have a whole conversation about our environment. So that's kind of what I'd be looking to kind of expand upon and have people take away from.
This is great. I mean, just personally, I mean, I'm aware we're living in complicated times. Obviously, where both funding and or also kind of the sense of the importance of small things, and seemingly small things like this. What a profound effect they can have. And I have a lot of friends who are sort of despondent at the moment. Like,
Yeah.
what do I do? It's also terrible. They get stuck in the kind of the doom scrolling, and there's a lot out there to keep their attention in the doom scrolling conversation.
Between bed rot and doom scrolling, we're all finished.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gosh. But
I will
there is,
say, I'll tell you something really interesting is because I have this shop. So I've stepped back from my shop running it and my partner runs it now. And I just kind of come in and create a little chaos every once in a while. My job.
right.
But I will say that we've gone through this political unrest quite a bit one time before, I'll just say without being too political. And it spikes the sales of our honeybees and people wanting to keep bees. And it's an interesting natural reaction to want to be reliant on yourself and to be able to produce maybe some of your own food and maybe spend more time in the countryside where you can keep bees that are healthy. So I see that as kind of an interesting time we're dealing with, but also an opportunity for us to get this story across, which is there are really simple, beautiful ways that we can take care of the environment and we can take care of each other.
Megan, it's so beautiful what you just said, and I'm so appreciate the work you do and how how expansive it is, really, literally in every direction, small to large. And thank you for carrying this forward and for being such an incredible advocate for this. It's
Yeah.
so, and it's just wonderful to talk to you. So
Thank
thank you.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Anything else I can do, I'm happy to help. I think getting this film made and getting our stories out there about beekeeping and rural development is really so important. And Apimondia they give me so much grace because, as I said, I'm kind of a little bit quirky in my place at Apimondia, but I feel so much support for them, and it's a really great place for people to come to and to learn more about honeybees as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Megan.
You're welcome.
Thanks for doing this, and
Yeah.
much more ahead. Hope to speak to you again.
Yes, definitely. We're not finished telling the story.
All right. Take
Okay.
care.
Yep.
Cheers.
Take care. Yep. Bye.